Okay guys, heading into town, and I thought I might do a topic on the Japanese healthcare system. So I'll come to a very serious topic in a moment, but first of all I'd like to say that the healthcare system in Japan is absolutely terrific, but it comes with a caveat. It's great for 95% of or maybe even 99% of ailments that will afflict anybody throughout their lives, but it's the 1% where it lacks. So for your general healthcare, it's efficient, it's fast, it's cheap, and it's professional. But it comes to a certain level of care, or a certain level of diseases and certain treatments that are probably not as good as elsewhere in the world. So you often hear when people are talking about healthcare systems, the Australian healthcare system is excellent, the Japanese is slightly better, probably one of the best. The NHS in Britain is another excellent one, but that's showing strain apparently over the last few years. But what you hear a lot of criticism about is the American one, and that's because of the exorbitant fees and things like this. But there's a nuance here. So for the average person who's dealing with basic ailments that happen through life, it's extremely expensive in the US, and a lot of people go without any health cover and things like this. But the nuance here is, if you have the money, the American system is the best in the world. But the problem is most people don't have the money. And what you'll find here in Japan, as I said before, is that for 99% of stuff that'll ever happen into your life, it's probably the best healthcare system in the world. But if that 1% ailment afflicts you, it's not good. Which brings me to a topic of foreigners. Some people may need to go back to their countries if they have the money to get certain treatments and things like this. But if you're just a humble guy living out in the rural areas and this afflicts you, this is something you need to think about. And what spurred this topic on is I have a gentleman, and sometimes he watches my videos and he comments a few times. Sometimes I watch his videos, and I was just catching up this morning on a couple of the channels that I follow, and his is one of them. And the name of his channel is called Life in Rural Japan, and he's been in Japan I think 30 years, so much longer than me. I've only been here 5, and he lives out in the boonies, out in the countryside, and his wife has taken ill really badly, and she has a suspected autoimmune disease, and this is one of the things that the Japanese healthcare system is probably not as good as, let's say, the American system. So his wife's in a really bad way, and he started up a GoFundMe, and I'd like to give a shout out to the GoFundMe, which I'll put in the link in the description, and I'll also pin it in the top comment on the video. And this gentleman seems to be in the same position that if you were to move to Japan, that there's a possibility you might find yourself in. So from watching the GoFundMe video on the autoimmune disease, it's obvious he's in a lot of heartache. His lovely's in a lot of pain, and it seems that possibly the Japanese healthcare system is just not up to the task, and he's pulling his hair out. So for foreigners who live out in these rural areas like myself, 99% of us, we're just normal people, we're not billionaires, and he isn't either, and he's expressed it's taken a bit of financial toll on him. So I'd like to express some solidarity and the first table that comes into my cafe on Friday. I'll be donating their cafe tab to the GoFundMe, and anybody who would like to support him, any of my subscribers, he would really appreciate it. So in Japan they have the Medicare system, so you pay your Medicare levy. So every year everybody pays their Medicare levy. It could be taken out of your salary, or in the case of us, we're self-employed, we pay it ourselves. But you have the option to purchase more, which of course is going to be costly, and a lot of people I know, they only have the basic cover, and when these sort of things happen, it can be a real boondoggle. So getting back to the healthcare system, you notice ever since I was a kid anyway, if there was some despot somewhere in the world, they'd always end up in America for life-saving treatment. So it was procedures and medicines and whatnot that they couldn't get in their own country. So while people do give the American healthcare system a bad name, it's not totally nuanced. They have great healthcare and great doctors and the like, but it's just a totally different system. So every country you go to, it doesn't matter. It's always going to have positives and negatives. And the thing I like about the Japanese system, as I said before, it covers pretty much everybody for most things, which is good. But as in the case of Gary from Life in Japan, it's just a real difficult thing. And again, I like to express my solidarity, and for people who have the means, if you could help Gary out, his wife's in a bad way, he would very much appreciate it. So one thing I've noticed too is these autoimmune diseases, they're really nasty, and they seem to be more prevalent than before. If they're not more prevalent, they're more in the media perhaps, or maybe more celebrities have died from them. I'm not sure which is the case, but at least there's more awareness about them, and it seems the same with cancers as well. But again, that could be just more because there's more information available and more sharing of information. But anyway, as with all sicknesses, it's always 100 times worse when it's a lady. Same with homelessness. If there's a homeless guy, sort of people kind of accept it, but when it's a lady, it really pulls at the heartstrings. And I think it's the same with these sort of things as well. So my heart's out to you, Gary, and I hope things turn around. So this topic is also something that the Japanese and the Americans, I think, have in common when it comes to the workplace. So if you had a full-time job with a big company or full-time job with a government agency, usually it comes with the full health benefits, and you can pay a little bit extra and stuff, I believe. So this is why a lot of Japanese like these sort of low-risk jobs, and I assume it would be the same in America. People would accept possibly jobs that they don't like because of the healthcare benefits. And the whole thing about the cost of healthcare, it's expensive because the people that are involved are professionals, and the companies that are involved in the business need to make a profit as well. So it seems like a total net loss, the whole industry. And I thought about this a lot, and the more free something is, usually the lower the quality. So free healthcare, it's not always a good thing. There has to be some some sort of capitalist element involved. Otherwise, people won't have the motivation to do research and create medicines and stuff for profit. So if there's no sort of money motivator there, it can make the whole thing worse for everybody. So I'm a little bit on the fence on the whole thing. I understand the capitalist side of things, why a lot of people really can't afford to get this top level of care, and to also understand most governments sort of most governments sort of willingness to give people at least a good basic level of care. So it's a tough one. So my wife's with me in the car at the moment, and she's explained the top-up system. So it's sort of like Australia. You have your basic Medicare levies, and you get certain benefits. So I think America calls it copay. So if you go and see the doctor, you just pay a small fee, not the whole thing. And if you have private top-up insurance, if you need to be hospitalised or something like that, depending on the level of cover, you could have your own room, or a room that only has one other person, or if you've got the lowest cover, it might be like a dorm style hospital ward. So people will top up their health insurance and healthcare as much as they can afford. So in the case of America, I've heard some really strange stories where people have gone to the ER just to get a broken finger put back in place or something, and it's cost them like $10,000 or something, and it's totally put them on the bankruptcy scale. So little things, getting a couple of stitches here and there, costing thousands of dollars, and this is it's inbuilt into the system. So I can see the good things about the American system and the bad things, and I actually really like the Australian and Japanese systems, but that's because I'm just your average Joe. So I see a lot of benefit in it, but yeah, it's a tough one. So as with everything, every country you go to has its pros and cons, and it's no different in healthcare as well. And I know that there's a lot of Americans that really like their system, and I can see why, and a lot of people that don't, and I can also see why. But I'm used to the Australian sort of system. The Japanese is similar, and these are the sort of judgment calls you need to make if you move to Japan, if that's something that's a deal breaker sort of thing. But as for Gary and Life in Real Japan channel, I wish you all the best. And Gary's GoFundMe looks like it's been set up by a family member in Australia, and that's possibly because maybe you can't set them up in Japan, or it might be difficult, I'm not quite sure. But he also has a coffee link, so you can just buy a coffee on his channel, and that's another way you can support Gary in this time. And again, I wish you all the best, Gary, and hope life turns around for you. So anyway, guys, that's the healthcare in Japan video, and as always, hope you like the video.
Let's go walk home.